One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. To let me be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow, he takes his step, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Rituals report he paves his way. Oh, legend in the making, day by day.
Man, oh man, what a freaking ordeal to get live this morning. That sucks, man. I had a big ordeal where the whole stream was like glitched out and I had to reset my PC twice, but hey, we're here. We made it. We made it happen magically. Somehow, some way. If there's a will, there is a way. Yes, everything like shut down, like where I couldn't like launch different programs that run the stream. I couldn't do any of that shit. So I had to reset twice. And luckily we did it, before the show and not during the show. So anyways, good morning to everybody, man. We have a big news morning as we always do. Trump meets Brazil, and meaning Prime Minister of Brazil is going to be, I guess they're going to be meeting here today. And then we have Rubio is meeting over there in the Vatican doing his visit with the Pope. And then we have Iran war latest, of course. So let's go ahead and give you guys the chronological timeline of what we're looking at, starting from a little bit of yesterday into current times this morning. We're looking at Zombieland to start off the very first, the very first thing, the very first story. Federal agents conduct massive drug raid in Los Angeles. We're about to get into that. And it's a pretty big one, actually. And I think the raid is off of fentanyl, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, then we have Jeffrey Epstein, alleged suicide note released by judge. And this came out 14 hours ago. It says a note that may have been written by the late Jeffrey Epstein was unsealed by a federal judge. The note appears to read in part, quote, "It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye." The note was sealed for years as part of a criminal case involving Epstein's cellmate, Nicholas, and I forget how to say his last name, U.S. District Judge Kenneth Karras, ruled the document should be made public, finding no sufficient reason to keep it sealed. The handwritten note appeared to reference past investigations. The note had stayed locked and sealed for nearly 5 years. So that's the update we have on Epstein. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about Iran, obviously, this morning. U.S. fires on Iranian oil tanker as Trump ramps up pressure on Tehran. This happened 13 hours ago, ladies and gentlemen. So this was about 11 o'clock my time, p.m., last night, local. A U.S. fighter jet fired on an Iranian oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman on Wednesday, coming in as the two countries are in a ceasefire. U.S. Central Command said the vessel tried to breach the American blockade of Iran's ports. Meantime, Trump threatens Tehran with a new wave of bombing if a deal to end the war is not reached. Damn. All right. And then what we're going to be getting into next after that is U.S. strikes another alleged drug boat, killing 3 narco-terrorists. I'm going to guess that is something to do with our side of the world, probably something near Venezuela or something. I'm not really sure. We're going to find out together, obviously. Then we have Israel carries out deadly strike in Beirut, first time since the ceasefire. So this is as of 13 hours ago as well, 11 p.m. Central, or 11 p.m. Central last night for me, local time. That's when this came out. says Israel carried out an airstrike in Beirut's southern suburbs on Wednesday, targeting a Hezbollah commander, according to local authorities. The strike marked the first attack since a U.S. brokered ceasefire began last month, according to the Washington Post. Then we have an update on the whole hantavirus thing that we were discussing yesterday and actually a little bit the day before. Hantavirus patients aboard cruise ship arrive in Europe for treatment, and this is as of 10 hours ago. Then we're going to get into, I guess, an accused serial rapist arrested in Indiana faces 30 charges. Good. It says just 7 hours ago, officials in Indiana announced Wednesday that a suspect in a decade-long serial rape case has been arrested. Lionel, I can't even, that's a fucking name that I won't be able to read to you guys. That's got to be some like, definitely not someone that's born here in the United States, okay? Faces 30 charges, Marion County prosecutors Ryan Mears said during a news conference. An illegal alien, quote unquote, an illegal alien has been charged in connection to 5 sexual assaults over an 11-year span. Dude, this is what I'm saying. Get them the fuck out of our country. That's what I got to say. Anyways, Iran reviewing U.S. proposal to end war. This came out just this morning, 3 hours ago. Iran said it's reviewing the latest American proposals on ending the war as U.S. President Trump threatened to the country with a new wave of bombing unless a deal is reached that includes reopening the crucial Strait of Hormuz to international shipping. And then our final story will be Iran's president meets with Supreme Leader, I guess, this morning, just 43 minutes ago. Iran's president met with Supreme Leader. According to Axios, peace talks include and, quote, end to hostilities. All right, so that's what we're looking at this morning. I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for being here and hanging out with us this morning, obviously. Listen, let's go ahead and do our call to actions real quick, and then we'll try to say hi to everybody quickly and get into the madness. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate your guys' engagement. And also subscribe. This is what we do Monday through Friday. And then, of course, Saturday morning for members only, man. It's a great time. Now, speaking of members, please consider becoming a member, starting only at $3.99 a month. We're making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody. But check it out. This is what allows us to have these lights on as well as, be on these airwaves. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. A little side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time breaking news, as well as the campaign trail, man. We are only 12 days away from, absolutely demolishing the incumbent over here in local politics. So vote J.R. Bowling for District 4 here for Alabama State Senate. And last but not least, man, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen, and anytime you guys can donate to those, and I get 100% of the proceeds. And listen, I'll read out loud anything that comes our way, and just like a super chat. So I'm always scanning. I've got my email up or ready to rock and roll this morning. All right. Good morning to everybody, man. Thank you all for being here. We got Jimmy Mack in here as well as Steve Posey, my man. We got Pablo as well. Shout out to you guys, man. Hopefully you're all enjoying your morning. We got Frank as well. We got Motobomb Virginia with the raid, by the way, this morning. And from the coffee crew, Sick Bastard, Old Mac, all the homies. I very much appreciate you guys, man. Let's see. We're scrolling down. We got Huggy as well as Rabbit. Good morning to you guys. Great to see you. Thank you for being here. We got Tiffany as well as GEG. Charles Darwin from Down Under. Yes, sir. And no, not Windows 11. I forget what the newest one is or whatever. But anyways, let's go ahead and keep it rolling. We got TNT in the building as well as No. Good morning to you guys. Thank you for being here. We got Steve and Kelly. I see you as well. We got Wildcard as well as Miss Lotus. Thank you for being here. We got Prez. Good morning to you, kind sir. Great to see you. All right, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. You got a lot of comments. I'm sorry if I missed you guys. I'm trying my absolute damnedest. Let's go ahead and get into this. Make sure you guys hit that like button on the way into this first story. Zombieland. Federal agents conduct massive drug raid in Los Angeles. And I think this has something to do with fentanyl, I believe.
We do want to step in with some breaking news that we are following for you. out of Los Angeles. This is a live look right now, Skyfox aerials, where the federal agents are conducting a major drug seizure and bust that is happening out in Los Angeles at the MacArthur Park area. You can take a look at massive amounts of DEA agents that are on the scene. Also, the CMS administrator, Dr. Oz, is also at the scene as well. Here's what we know at this hour here. At least 300 DEA agents, DOJ agents, as well as police are on the scene in this anti-narcotics operation across several locations in Los Angeles. And these sweeps are continuing right now as we are learning that the main target here is fentanyl.
Good morning, Gary. Great to see you in the chat, man.
This was a little bit earlier, some ground shots that we're able to bring to you as well of these agents going through businesses right now and conducting this massive search. Back out live now, Skyfox aerials again showcasing what is happening right now. This coming just a little bit ago on X from the United States U.S. Attorney.
No kidding, Magic Man. Good to see you in this chat this morning.
Yeah, putting this out saying Operation Free MacArthur Park federal agents have taken control of MacArthur Park to execute federal arrest and search warrants targeting the notorious open-air drug market there. We are going after street dealers and suppliers of massive amounts of fentanyl and methamphetamine over the past
Virginia Chaos knows the deal. Good morning, kind sir.
24 hours. Federal and local law enforcement have started arresting 25 defendants charged in a federal criminal complaint with possessing and distributing dangerous narcotics, including fentanyl and meth. The park's #1 drug
fentanyl and meth is what we're looking at over here.
Trafficker in a federal custody and faces possible life imprisonment. So right now, what we want to do is just showcase a little bit of the sound. Earlier, just moments ago, Fox 11 talking with the U.S. Attorney right here. Let's listen in on live now.
We are here at MacArthur Park today. We're reclaiming the park for the citizens of Los Angeles. This park's been overtaken by gang members, 18th Street Gang.
Oh, shit. Why do they have to say that? We got Baked Bizquick up in the building. Shout out to you, by the way. Good morning to you. Great to see you.
Their logos here thinking they own the place by drug dealers, drug users. It's zombie land. And we're taking it back. So today we're executing 25 arrest warrants, 8 federal search warrants. We're hitting the businesses along Alvarado here that are used to stash the drugs, that are used to sell to people in MacArthur Park. And so we're going after the street dealers. The days of dealing drugs and using drugs openly in MacArthur Park are over.
So essentially you're saying that these businesses are stash houses.
Good morning, Fidel. Good
I'm not saying that's what the judge said. The judge signed the search warrants. We've been surveilling this area for the last couple of months. We have very sophisticated surveillance teams. We know exactly who's dealing, where they're getting the drugs from, which businesses they're storing it at.
Wow.
We submitted those affidavits to the judge, and the judge gave us permission to search these businesses today.
Fentanyl, meth,
All of it. Cash, guns, drugs. We expect to find all that here today.
and this is part
Well, you said you expect to find all that here. You didn't say that that's what you found.
of the broader arrest taking place across the city.
Yeah, look, when President Trump made it clear that we're going to make America safe again, this is part of that. We're not putting up with open-air drug markets. California's policies have allowed this. They've decriminalized drug dealing, drug use. You could talk to drug dealers. They have no fear.
Right, that is true. In California, it is like that. But the feds don't feel the same way.
State of California, they know if they're arrested under state law, they'll be out in a couple hours.
Right.
No one is
True.
afraid of the criminal justice system in California. But guess what? Today they're going to be arrested by the feds, and they're not looking at a couple hours. They're going to look at 10 years minimum in federal prison. So the big boys are here. We're taking the park back.
Operation
Damn.
Free MacArthur Park.
Operation Free MacArthur Park. This is General MacArthur. Is who the park's named after. He's a war hero, and we are not going to let it get taken over by gang members and drug dealers. That's not happening.
This is in cooperation with the city too.
Yeah, look, I mean, LAPD is a partner in this. They're a great partner. They're happy to have us. We're happy to have them. And they want
That's
this.
actually
It's not
interesting. That's interesting that they did work with them like
their
that.
fault. It's the policies.
Because there's been a lot of like not working at all when it comes feds to any type of local police of the area. It's pretty hard to get cooperation from local PD in California, especially.
Sacramento
In
that have
anything.
enabled this and allowed it to flourish. And so the federal government is coming here to help the city of Los Angeles, to help the people of LA get their property back.
I think my last thing, and you know this, but residents see MacArthur Park, and it's hard not to drive through here and see all these people breaking the law.
Yeah, openly and notoriously. Those days are over. And we'll come back as many times as we need to. This is not a one and done. But we're hoping this will send a strong message, whether it's 18th Street Gang or MS-13 who thinks they control the South Part, or to the drug dealers. Those days are over. We've got over 300 agents here. We're not going anywhere. And we got bigger guns than they do. So that's the message.
All right.
right. A lot of sound bites are right there, no doubt.
What's up, Motobomb? Great to see you in the chat, my man. If you missed it earlier, thank you. I thanked you for rating us this morning, so appreciate
from the U.S.
that.
attorneys calling this area zombie land and saying that the federal agents have bigger guns than the ones that are cartel leaders in this area. Take a look right now. It's still live for you. Sky Fox Aerials continuing to showcase this massive drug bust in Los Angeles. Also on X, the acting attorney general, Todd Blanche, putting this out just moments ago, saying agents from the DEA and officers from the LAPD have taken back MacArthur Park to the drug dealers poisoning the streets of Los Angeles. Your safe haven is gone. And again, let's just show you again these live aerials that we're able to bring to you.
And they're calling this zombie land. Yep. Well, that is Los Angeles for you right there. All right, we're moving on into Jeffrey Epstein alleged suicide note was released by a judge last night. Let's go ahead and bring this up. And this is, after 5 years of it not being released, here's finally a releasal of it.
Welcome back in Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall, getting some news that a federal judge in New York has ordered the release of a purported suicide note written by Jeffrey Epstein to his then cellmate, siding with the New York Times in a request to unseal the document. The note had been filed under seal as part of the cellmate's case, in which the former police officer was convicted of multiple murders. Here's a closer look at the note itself. It is tough to make out. U.S. District Judge Kenneth Karras ruled that the document should be made public, finding no sufficient reason to keep it sealed. The handwritten note, as I said, is a little difficult to read, but the New York Post has translated it as this, quote, "They investigated me for months, found nothing. So 16-year-old charge results."
Come out and clean up and...
Appears we had a video.
Yeah, what the
there.
fuck?
We apologize for that. So 16-year-old charge results. It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What you want me to do, bust out crying, no fun, not worth it. Not an official transcription, but that is how the New York Post has transcribed it. TMZ with it as well. This alleged suicide note just getting released moments ago. We wanted to make sure that we brought it to you.
Man, they held that fucking note up for 5 years, and it was a nothing burger. You know what I mean? All right, we're moving on anyways. I mean, if it gives some context to something, great, but it doesn't, whatever. All right, so we have U.S. fires on Iranian oil tanker as Trump ramps up pressure on Tehran. This also coming out late last night. Says a U.S. fighter jet fired on an Iranian oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman on Wednesday, coming as the two countries are in a ceasefire. U.S. Central Command said the vessel tried to breach the American blockade of Iran's ports. Meantime, Trump threatened Tehran with a new wave of bombing if a deal to end the war is not reached. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. First, we have to do the money part. We haven't done the money part yet, and we're doing it.
Just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Actual factuals.
Denied.
All right, let's go ahead and bring this up and get into this story here. 3, 2, 1, bam.
All right, welcome back in Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall, Marine Traffic, giving us this depiction of the Strait of Hormuz. A single piece of paper could be the key that unlocks the strait and ends the fighting in Iran. Negotiators, they're working on a one-page framework to restart peace talks, and there's been enough progress to convince President Trump to call timeout on his military operation to guide ships out of the region. Fox's Rebecca Castor with the latest from Washington. Let's watch.
My man Steve Posey, good morning.
It's still a waiting game for hundreds of stranded ships in the Persian Gulf after President Trump's short-lived Project Freedom. Only 2 commercial ships safely crossed the Strait of Hormuz with help from the U.S. military. White House officials hope it was enough to push Iran's leaders to the table.
I think the fear that the United States' military is going to open the strait whether Iran wants it or not made them realize, if that's true, we've got nothing. We have no remaining leverage.
We're dealing with people that want to make
You be good out there, Baked. We always appreciate you, my man. Thank you for stopping by. Even if it's for a small time, it's a blessing, man.
deal very much, and we'll see whether or not they can make a deal that's satisfactory to us.
President Trump is cautiously optimistic, but just the prospect of peace was enough to send oil prices plunging Wednesday and stocks soaring. Some foreign policy analysts, though, are questioning the president's strategy.
I don't understand why we would pause this because the Iranians want us to. We don't really still have an idea of who's in control in Iran. We still have IRGC militiamen shooting cruise missiles at American Navy ships.
Project Freedom may be paused, but the U.S. naval blockade remains in effect. On Wednesday, an F-18 Super Hornet fired at an Iranian oil tanker trying to sail toward Iran and disabled it.
And that was the old story. And then now, just last night, we had a fighter jet go down onto a tanker.
The total number to 53 ships blocked from Iranian ports. The president says bombing will resume if Iran does not agree to his terms to end the war. The working framework limits Iran's nuclear program, lifts U.S. sanctions on Iranian assets, and starts negotiations for reopening the strait. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Let's bring in retired Marine Intelligence Officer and host of the Strap podcast,
Nice.
Hal Kempfer. Hal, you've been tracking all the same coverage that we...
I always appreciate that dude's insights, man. He really does have the insights for real. On the back end, like he actually has connections within the government and shit like that. And I've actually even talked to him myself before, and he's a good man.
We've been tracking as things stand at this hour, and given the reporting coming out recently, is there reason to be more optimistic than usual tonight as the White House continues its negotiations?
Well, Austin, I'm a little bit tentative because we've been down this road before where we hear a lot of positive talk that there's, we're making progress with negotiations. And frankly, we've heard that not just with the Middle East, but we've also heard that with, Ukraine and other places as well. So I stand back a little bit. But with that said, there is a certain amount of truth that they saw, Iran being Iran saw that we might be able to militarily reopen the strait. And certainly if Iran loses control of the strait, with everything else that they've lost, they realize at that point it's the end game. They don't really have much leverage. The little leverage they had was what they could do with the strait. So there might be a certain reason why, and timing is everything, why at this point they may be maybe more conciliatory, and they may come to some more terms. I understand they're looking over a set of terms that we've sent over, and they're taking their time. It's not just something they're throwing back. Now, with all that said, 12 hours from now, 24 hours from now, everything could change. And we could be, back at locking horns with them once more.
The time in D.C. right now, about 7:10 in the nation's capital. There were reports earlier today. I mean, I was just asking you about how optimistic we should be about this. There was a reason to be pessimistic earlier today. Today, a U.S. fighter jet fired on an Iranian oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman as it tried to breach the U.S. blockade of Iran's ports, the U.S. military said. So why did this jet do what it did, and how much and how close did we get to seeing things escalate today?
Oh,
well, this is not the first time we fired on ships trying to break the blockade. And these follow, and this might have been part of maybe one of the reasons to be optimistic, is the Iranians have before tried to test our blockade to try and get ships to go through the blockade without stopping, and they have come under fire. In one case, we disabled the ship with naval gunfire, actually, in the engine compartment, and then seized the ship in total.
And he's right about that. And this is, like he said, timing is the whole game right now. Iran's losing $500 million a day. I mean, the reports are 485 million up to 550 million. So I just round in the middle somewhere there to 500. And their oil infrastructure is not, I mean, listen, they're getting to the point where they're going to have to cap their fucking, their drills and shit for their oil. And that's going to cause a humongous problem for them. And once you retap it, and get it going again, your production level it drops down to like 35%. And then until you're able to get that, it takes forever. It's a big issue, and it's damaging their infrastructure. And so I think timing is something that Trump is playing on against them while holding the blockade on Iranian ports. So that's where they're going to end up. Unfortunately, whatever which way you want to look at anything, it's going to end up hurting Iran and putting the leverage back onto the United States, which it already pretty much has.
So that's one of the things they're doing. And maybe in seeing that, they've realized they're just not going to be able to defeat this blockade. And that's a big thing. With this blockade in place, they can't get oil out, and they can't get anything in except for humanitarian supplies. And they're running out of places to put the oil. And within a couple of weeks.
What's up, Charlie Rose? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat.
They're in a real bind. They have no place to store the oil. They're going to have to shut down production of some of the fields. They may not be able to restart production from those fields once they're shut down. That could be a very long-term problem. Not only that, the economy is within a few weeks of just really nosediving. They're already in a steep decline, but just completely nosediving, and their currency's in free fall. So they've got a lot of economic problems. All boisterous rhetoric that comes out of Tehran aside, they have some fundamental economic problems that they just can't shake. And so there are some reasons to be cautiously optimistic that maybe they're coming around to seeing the world in a more realistic light.
All right, man, that was actually well executed by Hal Kempfer over there. All right, so we're gonna get into, I guess it's showing U.S. strikes another alleged drug boat, killing 3 narco terrorists. Now, if I had to guess, this has to do something with South America, probably Venezuela area. Let's go ahead and bring this up and shift our attention over to this side of the world.
Welcome back and Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Do you
Oh,
remember these
shit.
videos of the U.S. military targeting drug boats in the Caribbean and Pacific? Well, they may not be in the headlines like they used to be, but they haven't stopped. On Tuesday, the U.S. released this video of their latest strike as part of Operation Southern Spear. They targeted a boat in the Eastern Pacific that they say was operated by designated terrorist organizations. They say 3 men were killed in the strike, and the vessel was using a known narco trafficking route. Retired Marine Intelligence Officer, National Security Analyst, and the host of the Strap podcast, Hal Kempfer, is here.
Nice.
Hal used to work on the war on drugs under U.S. Southern Command. Hal, we've been busy talking about Iran for months at this point. How would you describe Operation Southern Spear in that time?
Well, Austin, I would say it continues. The logic, the legal logic we have that we have put forward is that these cartels, we've designated them as terrorist groups, and we've also been very clear to talk about the potential deaths from the drug products that they send to the U.S. And the truth is, if you look at the number of deaths due to drug overdoses in the U.S., it's a horrific number, far bigger than what we see in these wars that we get into. And so that's how we've basically been dealing with this. And we see them doing an activity like a terrorist group doing an activity, say, somewhere else in the world. And we deal with them and say they're a terrorist group doing a terrorist activity. And we target them kinetically like we.
And the reason why we're able to on a legal ground, I suppose, I mean, it doesn't, listen, people cater to law all the time, but it kind of comes down to force A. But when the United States is labeling something as a terrorist, they're able to basically do whatever the fuck they want to them. Whether you guys like it or not is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about what ought be or what should be. We're talking about what is. And so when anything from the United States standpoint, when they label anybody as a terrorist organization, they literally can do whatever the fuck they want to them. It's crazy, I know, but it is what it is.
A terrorist group in Afghanistan or somewhere else in the Middle East. And that's how we're doing. And we're hitting them on a regular basis. I think 170.
My man Stacks, great to see you in the chat, my man. Good morning.
Narco terrorists, as we've defined them, have been killed in these strikes. The boats that we keep hitting these boats on a regular basis. We've apparently plussed up the MQ-9 Reapers that we have in the region, which are very useful in firing Hellfire missiles at these moving targets and taking them out. And it continues. And it I would say it's making a big dent, except for one thing. A couple of weeks ago, I was looking at the price of cocaine. It had not appreciably gone up. And that's one of the big metrics that we look at. Is it causing the price of cocaine?
Good on Hal for actually going and digging like way deeper into the question. Like, has it actually affected the drug market in the United States? And he says, well, it should be going up theoretically, right? Well, that's how supply and demand works, and it has not moved.
To jump up. Unfortunately, it has not really done that, and I'm not
quite
it's
free.
Sure
You're
why.
here right now.
This is how Southcom put it on their social media post. They say on May 5th, at the direction of Southcom Commander General Francis L. Donovan, Joint Task Force Southern Spear conducted a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel operated by designated terrorist organizations. They say intelligence confirmed the vessel was transiting along known narco trafficking routes in the Eastern Pacific and was engaged in narco trafficking operations. 3 male narco terrorists were killed during this action, and they say no U.S. military forces were harmed. Let's get to some reporting from Axios as well. Also important to mention that this happened in the Eastern Pacific. This wasn't in the Caribbean like so many of these strikes have been, although they do happen in the Eastern Pacific from time to time as well. Axios has this today. They say that the U.S. keeps bombing boats with little public scrutiny. Remind us what kind of scrutiny these strikes are facing, Hal, and has that scrutiny blended into the background while we've been focusing on Iran?
I don't really put the blame on that public scrutiny, certainly on U.S. Southern Command or on the Department of War or Department of Defense or really on the administration for that matter. They've been very forthright. They put out these press and these press statements. They put out the videos. In fact, they push out these videos faster than I've ever seen, at least in years past, putting out this information. So I think it's just there's only so much that can be out there. With everything going on with Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, the Middle East, and everything else in the world, that for some reason it does get reported, but it just doesn't get the amount of public notice that it did before. Now, when all those things were not,
and truly, what happens there is a lack of mainstream attention. Usually, that's what ends up happening.
When this thing started, and this was kind of the big story, it got a lot of public scrutiny. It still gets criticism on the international stage. There are still those in Congress who feel that this is a form of extrajudicial killing. And I would remind everyone that that's a very serious charge. The former president of the Philippines is currently in the International Criminal Court, charged with extrajudicial killings and drug traffickers. So
interesting.
It's a very, very serious,
I didn't know that. Interesting fact there.
Thing to say, but nothing's happened. Just a lot of rhetoric back and forth on it. But I think that's just because there's just so much else going on. I don't think it's because anyone's hiding it.
What's up, Dragon Classy? Good morning. Great to see you in the chat, by the way.
And I have to tell you, General Donovan, Frank Donovan, he's a great general. He's not one who would skirt any rules out there. He was the head of Joint Task, or the Joint Special Operations Command. He knows this world very, very well. And so I'm very confident when he's putting out there, at least from his legal standpoint, from his staff, they feel that what's being done meets international law.
I hear people asking how confident we are that these are actually drug boats. And every headline you read, it says alleged drug boat. How confident are we that these are what the Pentagon says they are?
Great question.
I think we're very confident, and frankly, having worked that issue down there, and among other things, I consult and provide training and work with other governments, to include Central American, South American governments, looking at the drug trafficking.
Hey, good morning, Cassandra. Great to see you in the chat. Hopefully you're enjoying your beautiful morning so far. For us over here, it was supposed to be raining all morning, but now it's clear skies. I'm looking out there right now. So anyways, great to see you.
Trafficking issue with the Southern Hemisphere, or well, I should say with the Western Hemisphere as a whole. And they're on known drug routes. That's a big thing. They're in a place doing an activity that is consistent with that illegal activity, narco trafficking by narco terrorists, as we've defined them, whether it's in the Caribbean or the Eastern Pacific. And a lot of that stuff is actually happening in the Eastern Pacific. In fact, one of the reasons they use that is because it's a less congested area. And frankly, ships on those routes, small boats on those routes, just don't make sense. It's very difficult. And they fit the profile, and they go in there and they look at it with a variety of electro-optical, but probably other sensor systems as well, to verify that this is what it looks like it is. And they have a high degree of confidence that it is a narco trafficking boat. And also I would mention that these boats are usually stateless vessels. They're not flying a flag. They're certainly not broadcasting AIS. They're actually technically too small to, but they're avoiding detection. So they're doing all these things that hit a criteria, which in so many words walks like a duck, talks like a duck. At some point, they make the legal decision it's a duck. And that's kind of what you're seeing.
All right, let's go and move on to our next story here. We're going to bring our attention back over to the Middle East, into what's going on with Israel. Israel carries out deadly strike in Beirut, first time since the ceasefire. All right, so this came out at 11 o'clock last night, my time, here in Central Standard Time. So let's go ahead and bring this up. It says Israel carried out an airstrike in Beirut's southern suburbs on Wednesday, targeting a Hezbollah commander, according to local officials. The strike marked the first attack since a U.S. brokered ceasefire began last month, according to the Washington Post. All right, let's go ahead and bring this up and get this ready for you guys. 3, 2, 1, bam.
Welcome back and Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall. A live look at some of the marine traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. This is coming to us courtesy of Marine Traffic. We continue to track developments at the Strait of Hormuz and in Iran. Of course, the Strait and the U.S.'s ongoing blockade have everything to do with where the ceasefire negotiations stand at this hour. Let's check in with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. We have standing by here Ahmad Sharawi. He is a a senior research analyst at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Ahmad, Trump says the question
The
is whether Iran
FDD.
can make a deal that's satisfactory to us. What is satisfactory? No nuclear program? Is it that simple?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's multiple things that we have to consider. Let's start with the nuclear enrichment. I think President Trump has been clear since day one that Iran must not have any nuclear weapons. And the Iranians have been stalling either by proposing different timelines for enrichment. So it's
Brother Sterling Wheel up in the building. Shout out to my man. Good morning to you. Great to see you. Hopefully you're enjoying your morning so far.
It's been clear that there's still a very wide gap between what the U.S. is demanding and what the Iranians are asking for in their proposals. Then we move on to the other issues, and these haven't been covered as much as the nuclear issue. But for example, we have the ballistic missiles. For example, I mean, Israel has been a target of Iran's ballistic missiles, but also the Arab Gulf states. And it's necessary that in the upcoming negotiations, there should be a serious negotiation and discussion over the future of Iran's ballistic missile program and how far it can.
What's up, Bob? Great to see you in the chat as well, man. Great to see you. Good morning.
But I mean, as you said, the main focus remains to be the nuclear issue and of course, the ongoing crisis in the Strait of Hormuz.
Right. A live look at Tel Aviv.
What's up, Hardwire? My man, good morning to you as well. We got Sterling Whale gifting out a membership, helping not only me, but helping one of you guys out in the IWF, man. I very much appreciate that, Sterling. Thank you very much.
I'm in Israel, approaching 3:30 in the morning, also 3:30 in the morning, Lebanon time as well. I want to ask you about this. The Washington Post.
What's up, Brody? Great to see you as well. Good
ran a
morning.
piece today saying that Iran
All
has
the
hit
legends.
far more U.S. military assets than reported. The lives and the damage this war has cost the U.S., how heavily does all of that work into the U.S.'s calculus, Ahmad, as they consider a path forward in Iran?
So, of course, I mean, we all understood and expected that as soon as this war will start, that the U.S. bases in the Gulf states will be targeted extensively. And we saw on the first day of the war, there was the targeting of the 5th Naval Base in Bahrain. We saw strikes against air bases in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. So I think the U.S. already understood the extent of Iran's retaliation against these targets. And I mean, this current ceasefire will give us, or will the future of these bases. I mean, not the future of their existence, but how the U.S. will manage the load of some of these bases will be reflected
Different.
In the next phase, if there is a next phase of this conflict, mainly because of what the lessons that we.
If you mean when it's happening, it's just I'm objectively looking at what's happening here, and yeah, I mean, hopefully we do get to a point where on a diplomatic level we can come to some sort of agreement, but we're at the end of halftime here.
That we learned during the first phase of the conflict. But of course, I mean, reports were showcasing before the war started that some of these bases were emptied out. For example, the Al Udeid base in Qatar was emptied out from fighter jets before the war started. And so this has always been part of the contingency plan, expecting that Iran's retaliation will target U.S. bases extensively if the war was to start. And I mean, we should have the same expectation if the war is to restart.
So another facet of this conflict that we can't forget about is southern Lebanon and northern Israel.
There we
the
go.
Fight between the IDF and Hezbollah. My understanding.
Now they're about to talk about the recent strike that happened, I guess, late last night.
Is that
For
Israel
us.
struck Beirut's southern suburbs for the first time since the ceasefire was announced.
What's up, Kerry? My man over there from Rob's neighbor. Good morning.
In the middle of April. We have a camera that we typically have plugged in that looks at the southern Beirut suburbs. Unfortunately, we don't have that camera at this hour. But Ahmad, if you can, enlighten us as to why the IDF struck now. And I read that they went after a commander in Hezbollah's Radwan force. So why did they choose to do this today?
First of all, the Radwan force is one of Hezbollah's one of Hezbollah's strongest units, and it's the main force that is tasked with.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so strong that the Lebanese government can't even control Hezbollah. So, yeah.
Fighting against Israel in the southern border, and it was actually formed by one of Hezbollah's leaders that was killed in 2008 for the goal of infiltrating northern Israel, taking hostages, and...
Yes, by the way, you guys don't have to like all the craziness that's happening around the world, but you guys can hit the like button for me and what we do here. So make sure you guys double tap that screen. If you're on the vertical side, hit that like button. If you're on the horizontal, appreciate you guys very much for that.
killing Israelis. And I mean, a lot of people assume that that was the plan that Hamas used on October 7. So the Radwan Force is a highly capable and strong faction within Hezbollah. And Israel's decision to eliminate its top leadership today is, I mean, it's not the first time that they eliminate the Radwan Force's top leadership. They did so in September 2024 during the initial phase of this war against Hezbollah. But the timing of the strike at the moment is mainly probably because Israel probably obtained intelligence that Hezbollah still intends to use the Radwan Force against the IDF and against Israelis in northern Israel. It's a way of weakening this very strong and capable force, even in the near future. And it's a signal that Israel is willing and capable of eliminating key Hezbollah leaders wherever they hide. I also understand that the U.S. greenlit this operation despite the ceasefire.
That's an interesting fact. Despite that this ceasefire is going on, the United States knew that this strike was going to happen and greenlit the situation and said, you guys go ahead and do it.
Which shows you how important the strike was in terms of weakening this highly sophisticated force within Hezbollah.
Yeah. We did get our live vantage point of Beirut. It wasn't uncommon for us time earlier this year where we would see strikes happening in real time on this camera. Obviously, we haven't as of late, but we did have one IDF strike within the past 24 hours. Worth watching to see if anything more does happen. Help us connect this stuff because we talk about the arena in Lebanon, but so many of our viewers and people that watch the news, they hear a lot about the conflict in Iran. So if you can, how does this arena, the IDF versus Hezbollah, how does that fit into the larger picture in the Middle East today?
Yeah.
So I mean, of course, the war against Iran is I mean, it's one big war that encompasses different arenas. And
yes, that's the whole thing. I mean, you guys know what the axis of resistance is.
Talk about these different arenas. It's where Iran's proxies operate.
Exactly.
One of them chief amongst them is Hezbollah in Lebanon. So the IDF has been fighting against or has been striking against Hezbollah since November 2024, since an initial ceasefire that was signed then. But Hezbollah continued rearming and getting weapons to regenerate and rearm, and thus the Israelis continued to strike Hezbollah in order to weaken them and degrade their military capabilities. During this time, Hezbollah did not respond to any of Israel's attacks until March 2026, when the U.S. and Israel launched the operation against Iran.
Well, the sad part is, wildcard, is it's still raging on, and because, believe it or not, Putin actually likes that this war is kind of going on because it takes the international the limelight away from, well, it's not really a limelight, but you know exactly what I mean. He doesn't want the coverage that he was getting. And the truth be told, they're still raging on. It's terrible. The numbers of deaths that are going on in Ukraine and Russia on both sides it's just insane. I can't even believe it, but it still happens daily, man. It's definitely brutal.
And that's when Hezbollah intervened in support of Iran against Israel and launched 6 rockets on the first night, but then they continued extensively targeting northern Israel. So this became another arena within the Iran-US-Israel war, in which Iran's proxy in Lebanon wanted to add more pressure on Israel, wanted to overwhelm Israeli air defenses, and increase the price of this war on Israel. And that's why we're seeing this new theater, the Lebanese theater, enter the stage.
Yo, real quick, my man Virginia Chaos dropping it like it's hot, gifting out 5 memberships. Let's go, man. Very much appreciate that. It's the first, I guess the first whale of the morning, so I very much appreciate that. Let's go ahead and do, and we gotta embrace our fuck ups.
Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck ups when you have tomorrow's fuck ups to look forward to? You are a fuck up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
Embrace thy process. All right, back to this.
And since then, we've seen Israeli strikes against Lebanon or against Hezbollah in
Thank
Lebanon.
You,
we've seen Hezbollah strikes against
Israel. Oh,
shit.
Until, man, and I looked down, and he also sent over some on Cash App, man. Virginia Chaos sending over $20 on the Cash App, saying dues and overtime pay. Here's some freaking money. Yo, man, that is raining some blessings on his motherfucker. I very much appreciate it, my man. Thank you for supporting the show the way that you do, selflessly, and showing so much love and support, man. It definitely goes a long way.
Ceasefire in Iran, which the Iranians demanded that Lebanon should be part of it, or Hezbollah should be part of it, for the sole reason that Iran wants its star proxy Hezbollah to survive. And that's why we've been seeing negotiations between the Israelis and the Lebanese on the future of Hezbollah's weapons, whether the Lebanese state will be disarming them. President Trump has been leading this effort of extending the ceasefire, and there will be a meeting this week between Lebanese and Israeli officials to discuss this. Of course, there's nothing concrete as of yet, but it's clear that Israel still seeks to weaken Hezbollah, to degrade Hezbollah. And Hezbollah is...
But the main thing here is to understand that the United States was made aware of this situation with Israel and Hezbollah on this last strike here, and the United States greenlit the situation and said, go ahead and handle what you got to handle. That's the main takeaway. And it does show the importance of who was actually killed. I don't know the ranking official, but it must have been somebody very, very important for them to essentially, do a little bit of a breach of a ceasefire. So anyways, let's go ahead and move into this hantavirus thing. We covered this the last 2 days, actually, a little bit. Hantavirus patients aboard cruise ship arrive in Europe for treatment. And I also have something for you guys from CNN, actually. It's about hantavirus. Now in 6 countries, officials present new origin theory, and that just came out minutes ago from CNN. So we're going to play that here in a minute. But first, we're going to do the first story here and figure out what's going on with these the hantavirus people that got affected here on the ship and where they're being located or moved to.
Welcome back in here to Live Now from Box. I am Andy Mack. Let's continue to talk about this developing story as 3 people have now been evacuated from a
That's right, Texas.
At the
Good
center
morning.
of the hantavirus outbreak in the Atlantic near West Africa, as health officials confirm the virus has reached Europe. For more on this, let's go on to Caroline Elliott on where we stand.
The quarantined MV Hondias cruise ship is now heading to the Canary Islands after the World Health Organization said there are no passengers still on board showing symptoms of hantavirus.
At this point, we've identified it. You've quarantined everyone. Those people who are, at risk are going to be, kept away from the general population.
On Wednesday, medics escorted patients with suspected infections off the ship, which has been stuck at sea for days.
I don't know if it's the exact same strain, Charles. We're going to find out here in a minute.
Unable to dock as health officials have focused on containment.
The fatality rate is around 40%, which is why people are so scared.
Patients were flown to the Netherlands and Germany for treatment. One seen here walking on the tarmac in full hazmat gear.
There's no specific antiviral that you can give these people. There's no pill. It's supportive care.
The focus is now on stopping the spread of the virus, and the World Health Organization confirms the outbreak.
And also, it's, kind of like one of those things where there is no cure. There is no, and guess what? Soon you're going to see a new vaccine come out for this shit. It's a 2.0, man. Now, here's something to also understand about it. It's fairly rare for the hantavirus to spread from person to person. Unlike, vid-19 over there, that was very easily exchanged by, just airborne, just from your own, from your breath and shit. Hantavirus really isn't like that. You have to be in contact with rat feces and piss, and it also becomes airborne. And on something like a ship, it's fairly easy for that to, I guess, anything becoming airborne. Same thing with flying in planes and shit. But you know what I mean. But the special takeaway is there is no, any type of cure or medication or whatever. So you'll see that there's going to be a vaccine that comes out for it.
Involves a rare strain
Most likely.
that can be transmitted human to human.
What we heard from the WHO is these cases are all individuals who are part of a cluster that had close contact with each other. So this isn't something that poses the same general risk of spread as many other viruses do.
And the Spanish government has agreed to accept the ship. And once it arrives,
Be good out there, VC. We always appreciate you. And thank you for your selfless support this morning, man.
full investigation and disinfection will happen. And New York, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
All right, thank you so much. And we do know the virus has reached Europe as authorities in Switzerland say a passenger who had already left the expedition ship tested positive after reporting symptoms.
So, Huggy, it's $ ball valve. It's scrolling on the bottom right there. It says $ ball valve. Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
At a hospital to bring that total of suspected or confirmed cases now to 8. So far, 3 people have died. And obviously, the World Health Organization at the center of this, saying so authorities have confirmed a hantavirus identified in a passenger from this cruise ship. He had responded to an email from the ship's operator informing the passengers of the health event.
Now, that is absolute facts. Desert treatments are more profitable than cures. Yep. Sad but true.
And presented himself to a hospital in Zurich and is receiving care. Let's be joined right now by Abrar Karan, an instructor in the Division of Infectious Diseases at Stanford.
That would probably be Charles right now.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And big concern about transmission.
What's up, Jason?
Being
Good morning.
Human to human. Do we have confirmation of that, and how big of a deal could it be?
Yeah, so to fundamentally confirm that, you would need to essentially do genomic analysis to see if the virus that was present in case 1 is the same virus that's present in case 2 and thereafter. But just from epidemiologic assessment, we can say...
Oh, wow. My man Huggy coming in hot. Big time with the 50 banger, man. He sent in $50 saying from Huggy, man. I very much appreciate it. That is fucking legendary. My man. Thank you very much. That goes way, way far. For the rest of you guys, though,
Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate some freaking.
See, that was real propaganda. Okay, there you go. Now that you're all hypnotized over there, it's all good.
Denied.
All right, here we go.
That it's very likely this was spread from case 1, who started to have symptoms a few days after the cruise started.
Thank you, Huggy,
Case
for the
2
50
was
spot.
several days after that, as were some of the other cases. So essentially what seems most likely is that case 1 got infected. And what we know is she was doing some kind of activities where he was exposed to rodents and potentially at a landfill, I've been reading, and then likely infected his wife and then other passengers as well, who incubated virus for a couple of weeks. And then
What's up, Joseph, my man up there in Canada, our favorite snow Mexican. Great to see you in the chat, my man. Good morning to you.
and started to show symptoms. So that's most likely what we're looking at.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about that. You mentioned the rodent base, as most of these hantaviruses are linked to those rodents, the mice. How do investigators determine that, the exact origin of it, the genesis of this? And can we get in more to the incubation, because this happening on a cruise ship?
Thank you, my man. We're out here working hard Monday through Friday, and then, of course, Saturday morning for members only. If you guys got gifted memberships, by the way, there's been a lot of gifted memberships in the recent week, actually. If you guys got one, make sure you guys show up Saturday morning, man. We don't talk about any of this shit, by the way. We try to have a good time, or we react to crazy shit. It could be cop videos. It could be Walmart, people at Walmart freaking the fuck out. It's awesome, bro. Anyways, just saying. Anyways, thank you so much, Huggy.
How unique is that circumstance?
That's right,
that we take away from
5150.
Yeah, it's a great question. So one of the most well-known outbreaks in the U.S. was actually in Yosemite in 2012, and an assessment was done looking at.
Wow, Pablo, if it really came down to 76.39, that's a massive dip. That's phenomenal. If that's really what it is. I don't know where she is right now. She was bugging me like crazy this morning, and then as soon as I sat down, she ran. She went to do her own thing, I guess. Go to sleep. Jimmy Mac coming in with the 420, my man. Thank you very much for the 420 spots, and Dunn did donated. I very much appreciate my man. Thank you so much for the 420. It definitely goes a long way, brother.
How transmission happened in tents, and they found that in the insulated walls of some of these tents, there was urine and feces of the rodents that essentially tested positive as well. And so the mechanism there was people breathed it in. It got aerosolized over some period of time. Similarly here, just based on the confirmation that this is Andes virus, knowing the vector of Andes virus, that is the most likely exposure based on what the assessment was of the index case, where he had been, what kind of activities he had been doing. So that's kind of how you start to piece it together. Of course, you're not going to be able to figure out the exact mouse or the exact moment he got infected, but that's not really necessary. We already have enough information.
All right, so let's go on and get into the CNN coverage of this. It says hantavirus now in 6 countries. Officials present new origin theory, and this is coming also from the WHO. So the World Health Organization said Thursday, which is today, that 5 confirmed infections have been identified among people connected to the cruise ship MV Honduras, as health authorities across several countries race to trace and contain the outbreak. 3 people, a Dutch couple, and a German national have died since the vessel departed Argentina last month. The first suspected case was a 70-year-old Dutchman who suddenly fell ill on the ship with a fever, headache, abdominal pain, and diarrhea. South Africa's health department told CNN he died aboard on April 11th. And then he died on April 11th, and then he wasn't disembarked until, like, I don't know, 15 days later or something crazy. I don't know. Well, it'll say it in here. Here we go. Let's go ahead and bring it up.
Around the world are racing to contain a deadly outbreak of hantavirus that's linked to this cruise ship in the Atlantic. The Dutch airline KLM says one of the ship's passengers who later died after contracting the virus boarded a flight in South Africa before the plane's crew decided she was too sick to travel. The Georgia Department of Public Health says 2 people who returned home to the state after getting off the ship are being monitored right now, and one Arizona resident who was also on board.
Arizona resident, California, Georgia. Wow.
Is also being watched by officials there. And according to the New York Times, California residents were on the ship as well. CNN's Randy Kay looks now at how this virus may have spread.
Yeah, Charles Adams, this is brutal, but we covered her yesterday when she came out yesterday and spoke on this.
Expedition boat, and many of the people on board were doing bird watching.
Turns out a bird watching tour may be the source of this hantavirus outbreak. According to the Associated Press, 2 Argentine officials investigating how this started said their government is leaning toward the idea that a Dutch couple contracted the virus while bird watching in the city of Ushuaia, Argentina, before boarding a ship. The AP reports the couple visited a landfill during the tour and may have been exposed to infected rodents.
A landfill? What the fuck are you guys doing at a landfill? Hold on.
Contracted the virus be the source of this hantavirus outbreak. According to the Associated Press, 2 Argentine officials investigating how this started said their government is leaning toward the idea that a Dutch couple contracted the virus while birdwatching in the city of Ushuaia, Argentina, before boarding a ship. The AP reports the couple visited a landfill during the tour.
Oh my God.
And may have been exposed to infected rodents.
Oh my God. So it was these Dutch couple that caught it down there bird watching and were down by a fucking landfill in Argentina. What are you fucking doing?
That 70-year-old Dutch man was the first to die on the ship days after they left port in Argentina. His 69-year-old wife died about 2 weeks later. The rest of the people on board, including nearly 150 passengers, are now on a 3 to 4 day journey from Cape Verde to Tenerife in the Canary Islands. Spain has agreed to receive the ship there. Upon arrival, the plan is for all passengers to be taken to a nearby airport and sent back to their home countries. The 14 Spanish citizens will be examined and go directly into quarantine at a Madrid hospital.
This is the country of Cape Verde in front of us, but it is forbidden to go down to it.
This travel vlogger on board posted on social media about the predicament they now find themselves in.
Today was supposed to be the last day of our 35-day trip on the Atlantic, but it is clear that our journey will not end here because Cape Verde refused to receive us on its coast.
Earlier today, this medical evacuation boat removed 3 sick people from the ship.
That's what's crazy about it, Charles. Like, it's so wild. I mean, I guess you're going to find a whole bunch of birds around a landfill, I guess, right? But I would imagine it would just be a whole bunch of fucking seagulls and shit.
On their way to the Netherlands, a
I don't know
source
how
from
it is in
Spain's health
Argentina,
ministry
though.
told CNN that Morocco refused to let the plane carrying 2 of the evacuees land to refuel. Instead, it made an unscheduled landing at Gran Canaria Airport to do so.
People are usually infected through contact with infected rodents or their urine, their droppings, or their saliva.
Gross.
Human-to-human transmission is uncommon.
Yet in this
Surprise,
case,
good
the
morning.
World Health Organization believes the virus may have been transmitted person to person on board. And just today, following lab tests, confirmed this is the Andes strain of the virus, which has spread among close contacts before.
We're also working with authorities for anyone that has left the ship.
In fact, the Swiss Federal Office of Public Health has confirmed that a passenger who traveled on the first leg of the voyage and disembarked at St. Helena on April 24th has now tested positive for hantavirus. That passenger, according to the cruise company, is being treated at a hospital in Zurich. His wife, who was with him, has not shown symptoms but is self-isolating as a precaution. Randy Kay, CNN, New York.
And today, a German woman who may have been exposed to the virus on board that ship was picked up by a convoy of emergency vehicles after being flown to Amsterdam. Doctors say the woman is in stable condition.
Over there in Amsterdam, Netherlands.
But remains quarantined. For more on what life is like for the 150 people still on board the infected ship, I want to bring in CNN's Melissa Bell. Wow. I mean, personally, this would be my worst nightmare, to be on this ship, knowing what's going on with this.
Yeah, imagine fucking going on a cruise ship. You know, you're trying to enjoy, your time off. You spent money to be there, what? And then imagine dying from this shit. Are you kidding me?
Virus that can incubate for up to 8 weeks, right, Melissa?
And I'm not even talking about the ones that contrived it. I'm talking about the people that unfortunately were like innocent just on the ship and then they're sick. Oh my God. And then they're dying.
That's right. With all the confusion and uncertainty that has gone on the ship itself, you know, we've now seen the video of the initial captain's announcement that was made the day after that first patient, the Dutchman, died, explaining that he died.
Yeah, I don't even blame you for that, Charles. I literally don't even blame you.
And that they believed that it was natural causes and so on. And it was only later, much later, that it was understood that this virus had been at play. The company that runs the ship has put out a statement explaining that it wasn't known at the time. It took them some time to figure out that this was a virus and that everyone needed to quarantine. And of course, as we just heard, people then disembarked in St. Helena. There was another disembarkation in Ascension Island, 3 more people.
So there's been multiple disembarks along the path here. So it's not, they're not all in one facility or something like that. They've been disembarked on multiple countries.
People disembarked at Cape Verde because by then we knew the virus was going around and these were suspected or confirmed cases. For those still on board, what we understand is happening, Pamela, is that they're being quarantined in their own rooms. They're staying inside their cabins. Their food is being brought to them there and all the precautions.
By the way, we have well over 200 people in here right now. Make sure you guys double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. Make sure you guys hit that like button if you're on the horizontal. Very much appreciate it. You guys don't have to love all this craziness that's happening right now, but you guys can like it from me and my reporting here on Insane Wheels. So thank you for that. All right, here we go.
Are being taken so that there are no further infections or transmissions of this Andes strain of hantavirus. Now, at least they have a port in sight, and this had been unclear for some time, really until yesterday. We didn't know what port would accept taking in this ship and dealing then with what will be a very...
Here, I got you, Steve Posey.
Stupid.
Shit.
Very complicated operation to get these 147 passengers off, all the crew members off as well, to quarantine them and to successfully take them to where they need to go. You showed a moment ago that convoy in Germany. That is just one passenger suspected, confirmed, but still one passenger.
This is crazy. It says right now, as of right now, 3 dead, several others sick. 5 confirmed cases, 3 suspected, 3 people evacuated. And 149 people remain on board right now, including 17 Americans. Oh my fucking God.
From the ship to Amsterdam and onwards to a hospital that can treat them. Imagine that multiplied by the number of people who are going to get off the ship. We've just been hearing, however, from the World Health Organization, and they say that beyond the 5 confirmed cases and the 3 people who sadly died, there has been no further identified transmission on board. So that is the good news. But again, this is a strain of the virus that has an incubation period of 8 weeks, which substantially complicates things for anyone who's been in contact with either people who've left or for those who are still on the ship.
So it says the symptoms here, hold on, are fatigue, fever, chills, aches, damage to organs, severe shortness of breath, organ failure, and death, yo.
Actually complicates things for anyone who's been in contact with either people who've left or for those who are still on the ship or will be in contact with them when they get off, Pam.
I think it was 20 billion. I think that's what it was, Charles, 20 billion.
The coast of West Africa, a cruise ship under quarantine.
Yeah, that's the doctor.
3 more passengers medically evacuated, all tied to a deadly outbreak of hantavirus.
I can't remember if it was 20 billion or 40 billion, but nonetheless, we basically bought their currency.
A rare, typically rodent-borne disease with no specific treatment or cure. The open decks of the MV Hondias deserted. Dining rooms empty.
Or he bailed out their currency, it's better out to say.
Passengers told to stay in their cabins.
Hi, I'm Jake, and I'm spending the next 35 days crossing that.
Oh, this guy. This guy again. We covered him yesterday. Oh my God, this fucking guy. He is a theatrics nut. All right. This motherfucker right here, he is playing into it so heavy. And hey, I mean, I'm not going to hate the game of content creation, but listen, this dude though.
Why are you gay?
Just asking a question. Just asking.
Remote islands in the world.
This is how the journey began for Jake Rosemarine, a Boston photographer, one of around 150 people on board.
People with families, with lives.
This right here.
People waiting for us at home.
Health officials are now retracing the ship's route, trying to figure out where and when passengers became infected. Their 35-day expedition began from the edge of Antarctica, visiting some of the most remote islands in the South Atlantic.
On those islands, there are birds. Some islands have a lot of rodents, others don't.
Hantavirus is usually picked up by breathing in particles from rodent droppings or urine. Symptoms often start like the flu, but can quickly cause severe breathing problems, organ failure, and death. The incubation period, 1 to 8 weeks. Lab tests have yet to confirm it, but investigators think this may be a rare South American strain that sometimes spreads not just from rodents, but between people.
Among the really close contacts, the husband and wife, people who've shared cabins, etc.
This small boat medically evacuated a handful of infected passengers. Investigators say the outbreak began in early April. The first victim, a Dutch passenger, died on board April 11th. His wife died around 2 weeks later in a hospital in South Africa. A third passenger, a German national, died on board on May 2nd. A British passenger remains in intensive care. Everyone else stuck on.
Well, it's a little too late. They've already taken a lot of them off, and now there's 5 different countries, or 6 different countries. I'm sorry, hantavirus now in 6 countries. Officials present new origin theory, and that's what we're showing right now. They've already dropped off passengers before they knew it was a quote-unquote outbreak. They already dropped off in 6 countries, disembarked people. Yeah, we're fucked.
Board undergoing medical checks, a situation Kent and Rebecca Frazier.
I really hope they get down
in
under control.
We don't know how long you have to stay in the hostel.
I met them back in 2020. They were quarantined on the Diamond Princess cruise ship off Japan.
Yeah, and there's already people that have come back that were on the ship, and they were in California. They're California residents. And then there's Arizona residents and Georgia residents. So those are the 3 states that we know of so far that were aboard that and have come back.
What's the hardest part?
I'd say the unknown.
Rebecca, one of the first Americans to test positive for COVID.
There she is. She's standing in the window right now. Rebecca, here we are. Hi.
I was one of the first Americans, wow, to catch COVID.
In a Tokyo hospital, Kent was quarantined in their cabin.
What would be your advice for passengers stuck on this ship right now?
If you start thinking about what's happening around you, it is so difficult.
We are. Yes, by the way, we are in overtime right now. Guess what that means? No tax on tips and no tax on overtime. W. So send in your tips by Super Chat and, Cash App and all that shit.
Stay away from a mindset where you're getting depressed and just like really fearful of what's going to happen. You have to try to stay as upbeat as you can.
They know how difficult staying upbeat can be for everyone on the MV Hondias facing fear and uncertainty on a floating quarantine zone.
Man, this is rough. All right, we're going to go ahead and focus our attention on something even probably, well, I'd say this is more fucked up. Accused serial rapist arrested in Indiana faces 30 charges. Let me go ahead and read this a little bit. It says officials in Indiana announced Wednesday, which was yesterday, that a suspect in a decade-long serial rape case has been arrested. I can't even pronounce his name because he's an illegal alien, faces 30 charges, Marion County prosecutor Ryan Mears said during a news conference. And he said, an illegal alien has been charged in connection to 5 sexual assaults over an 11-year span. Wow. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this up and let's quickly discuss it.
Here to live now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. Sticking with Indiana, we want to talk about a major story as 30 separate charges have been filed.
Grillipus, great to see you in the chat, my man. Good morning. Great to see you, man. It's been a minute.
Serial rape suspect. This over a 11-year span. A live look right now there in Indianapolis as these felony criminal charges filed against a serial rape suspect accused in 5 North Indy sexual assaults that occurred over more than a decade. This a post from FBI Director Kash Patel saying an illegal alien has been charged in connection to 5 sexual assaults over an 11-year span as these 30 charges have been filed from incidents that occurred from 2013 to 2024, saying incredible work for the FBI Indianapolis. Our FBI team and partners used advanced DNA technology and combined DNA index system CODIS to charge this suspect. Let's take you right now out to a press conference earlier on detailing some of these charges and the allegations laid forth.
Let her rip, homie.
To everyone for being here today. We certainly appreciate it. My name is Ryan Mears. I'm the Marion County Prosecutor, and Marion County Prosecutor's Office is announcing that we have filed 30 charges today involving an allegation involving a serial rape case that has taken place here in Marion County over the span of a number of years. The first incident that is described in the probable cause affidavit occurred in 2013. The final incident occurred in 2024. As a result of that investigation, we are going to file 30 charges against the defendant. Many of those charges are the most serious charges that we are able to file in the state of Indiana. They involve level 1 felonies, which carry a range of penalty from 20 to 40 years. And this is actually also under the old code in 2013, which would be an A felony, which is 20 to 50 years. So we are talking about a significant level of punishment that is potentially out there based on the charges that are filed today. Just briefly about the facts, this is one of those cases, and the allegations contained in the probable cause affidavit are absolutely horrifying. We have completely innocent victims who were attacked and had to endure just unspeakable things. And unfortunately, it was not limited to just one individual. We had multiple victims who were involved in this case who had to suffer through just a very traumatic set of experiences. The thing to me that stands out about this case is just the incredible strength and resiliency about these victims. We are talking with individuals who had to endure this in 2013, and because we were able to get a DNA CODIS hit, they were then contacted by the detectives. They were asked to relive literally the worst moment of their life, and every single one of these victims came forward, provided us with information, and put us in a
Every single victim. Wow.
position that we were able to file today's charges. And so I think today is also a testament to the strength and will of so many survivors that we have in our community. And we are here because they were willing to come forward and provide us with information not only 12, 13 years ago, but also have that follow-up conversation with law enforcement today, which is something that I know everybody in this room is just incredibly grateful for that level of support. The other thing is this case was pending for some time, and we had a lot of good information
Probably,
in terms of
probably wanted more and more information to build the case as strong as possible.
a pretty good physical description. We knew who we were looking for, and we knew all the cases were linked. The Marion County Crime Lab was a tremendous partner in terms of telling us, hey, we think we are looking for the same individuals. When you began this investigation, it was also very clear that all of these incidents occurred in essentially the same geographic location. And very recently, thanks to our friends at the FBI and our federal partners, we were able to get a CODIS hit where we were able to link all of these individuals together. We were able to identify a suspect, and as a result of that identification, we're in a position to make today's charging decision. And to walk you through kind of the investigative process, I'll turn it over to Chief Kendall Adams.
Thank you, Prosecutor Mears. I want to begin by acknowledging the pain and trauma that many of our neighbors have endured. This is a kind of trauma that can stay with someone for their entire life. And today, we keep those survivors at the center of our thoughts. Their courage and their willingness to work with law enforcement is the reason we stand here today.
Well, I would like the actual listing of the charges, like in full, like on a post here, but it doesn't look like we're going to get it. All right, you guys understand what's happening here. We're going to obviously follow the case, and whatever we can, anytime we start talking or presenting any type of news, we do our absolute best here on Insane Wheels to follow the stories that we bring up. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into this next ordeal. We're going to turn our attention over to Iran reviewing U.S. proposal to end the war. And this is just coming out this morning, about 3 hours ago. So let's go ahead and bring this up and we'll quickly get into it.
All right, staying with some more of these international headlines and now heading to the latest happening in the Middle East. Bringing us out to the radar system that we have over at the Strait of Hormuz, courtesy of marine traffic. Now, we have been tracking this war since it first began back on February 28th, again, from those joint U.S. and Israeli strikes against Iran.
Man, I appreciate that, Fidel. Thank you very much for that.
The Associated Press is reporting today that Iran said it was reviewing the latest proposals on ending the war, as President Trump threatened the country with a new wave of bombings unless a deal is reached. That includes reopening the crucial Strait of Hormuz to international shipping. Hope that the two-month conflict could soon end was still affecting international markets on Thursday, even as the U.S. military fired on an Iranian oil tanker attempting to breach an American blockade of Iran's ports just hours earlier. The developments followed days of mixed messaging from the Trump administration over its strategy to end the war. I want to take us out to a social media post courtesy of Trey Yingst. He's a Fox News correspondent. He says this, it was posted a few hours ago, but it pretty much recaps all of the major headlines coming out of the Middle East. U.S. forces fire on an Iranian-flagged vessel attempting to breach the naval blockade. Officials reportedly delivered a 14-point memorandum to Iran aimed at ending the war. And Israel strikes a Hezbollah commander in Beirut as Prime Minister Netanyahu holds a security cabinet meeting. All of this we're going to get into more in depth. Joining us now to do so is Seth Frantzman. He is an adjunct fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies.
What's up, Charlie?
Seth, good morning. Good to have you.
Good morning. Look at this alfalfa motherfucker.
Good morning.
And he's lagging like a motherfucker, too. What's up,
All right,
Jimmy
I do
Mac?
apologize, Seth. I think
Oh,
that
you're heading
the,
out? Always appreciate you, my man. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this morning. Hopefully this guy can get his act together over
connection
here.
is a little spotty there. I'm going to bring us out to live images over in Beirut in Lebanon.
Until
we're
you
gonna see if
figure
we
it
can
out.
Get the connection back up and running here. So this, again, live images over in Beirut remaining relatively quiet, but we know that those strikes between Israeli military and also Hezbollah forces, it does continue. Bringing us out to a couple of social media posts courtesy of the Israel Defense Forces. They were posted yesterday, but it's pretty much kind of the gist of what has happened throughout the last several days. And again, we're working behind the scenes here to get some more of this conversation that we're going to have with Seth. Before we head actually over to those IDF posts, I want to put up this, a social media post courtesy of Fox News, in which they are also featuring a screenshot of a Truth Social post from President Trump. And it says this: breaking, President Trump announces Operation Epic Fury will be, quote, at an end, and the Strait of Hormuz could open for all if Iran agrees to current negotiation terms. And then it quotes him saying, if they don't agree, the bombing starts, and it will be sadly at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. All right, I do believe that possibly we have Seth back on with us here. So we're going to work to bring him on in just a little bit. The connection, though.
So just point out here, Trump had said if they don't agree, the bombing starts, and it will be sadly a much higher level and intensity than it was before.
Still a little spotty. Just giving an update to our viewers as we're trying to track and break down everything happening regarding U.S. and Iranian negotiations.
That comes out this morning.
At this time. Again, Iranian officials are reviewing the latest proposal that was put forth by the U.S. and the Trump administration to end that war. All right, Seth, so I'm going to bring you back in one more time here. I think it's looking a little better. Seth, thanks for staying with us here. Live TV. It happens.
Yeah.
All right, so I did a bit of a blurb there at the front, giving some key points. Let's talk about that biggest headline. Right now, Iran is reviewing that latest proposal from the U.S. to end the war. Negotiations have gone back and forth for weeks now. So what kind of optimism is there at this time, and what kind of major sticking points are there possibly in this latest proposal that could bring an end to this war?
Good question.
Well, I think what we're hearing about is an initial proposal that has 14 different points. It's a
Right.
one-page or two-pager, and then that would lead into a month of discussions. And the Iranians have yet, I think, to respond to it. So we have to see kind of how that goes. But obviously, there's going to be lots of different hang-ups. One of the issues, of course, is the issue of Iranian nuclear enrichment and that their nuclear program, and whether Iran will agree to ship its stockpile of highly enriched uranium to the United States or somewhere else, so that is kind of verified and put on some sort of a deep freeze or what have you and contained. And that seems like a very complicated point for Iran, how they're going to find all of it, whether they're going to let inspectors go in there and things like that. So there's a lot to talk about in the nuclear program. And then there's going to be other things like the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, Iran and the Gulf states and everyone else would like to see the straits open for all this traffic that you mentioned, all these ships that are stuck there. We're talking tens of thousands of people stuck on ships that are supposed to be transiting the globe. So you've got the Strait of Hormuz, and then Iran's going to want to make sure that there's...
Yes, about 20,000 sailors out there in the Strait of Hormuz that are, literally, they're stranded out there. It's terrible.
There's ceasefires involved, like Lebanon and things like that. So I think it's just a question as to whether they can finally get to yes on some of these key points.
I want to hone in here on the Strait of Hormuz, obviously a major talking point. It's not just Iran's nuclear program that the U.S. is concerned with, but also the disruptions we've seen there. The significance of the operation, some of these U.S. military operations there at the Strait. Seth, what are some of the most pivotal moments that we have witnessed throughout the last couple of weeks or so that have brought us to this point today?
Well, if you remember, the war started...
I bet you're right, Charlie, by the way.
Back in February 28th with, U.S. and Israeli strikes in Iran, right? And that went on until early April. So we've had about a month of a ceasefire. And then you remember that initially the thought of the ceasefire was the Iranians expected the straits to open. And they also wanted to see a ceasefire in Lebanon between Israel and Hezbollah. And Iran didn't feel they got exactly what they wanted because the United States also said, okay, we're going to blockade the Iranian blockade. The Iranians basically had prevented ships from crossing this area in Hormuz. And so the U.S. said, okay, we're going to blockade the Iranian ports and not allow Iranian ships to leave. And so the Iranians said, okay, we're going to keep up our blockade. And I think that's where you saw in April that even though there was a ceasefire, there was a continuance of some of the major problem in the conflict, which the Iranians had basically created, this Hormuz problem, because they understood that they were taking blows.
Okay, so green signifies cargo vessels and smaller boats, but they're showing cargo. And then the red is tankers. They hold petroleum and stuff like that. So you've got the green that are just normal cargo vessels, and then you have actual tankers that are holding oil, which is red.
As military on other issues, and they thought, okay, well, we can't respond, with air defenses or whatever, but they can respond by closing the straits. So they did that, and then also it's important to remember the Iranians continue to carry attacks throughout the ceasefire. They've attacked the United Arab Emirates, which is a close friend of the United States, friend and ally of Israel. So you've got them attacking the United Arab Emirates just in the last few days, right? And then you've also got the fact that in the last few days, the Iranians have ramped up attacks on the Kurdistan region of northern Iraq. They've been attacking a bunch of Iranian Kurdish opposition groups that are basically living there in exile. So the Iranians are showing that they're going to continue the attacks. They feel they have confidence. And I think that's where you see, Trump administration had basically come in with this plan of something they called a freedom plan or something. They said, we're going to open up the straits, try to use naval escorts and things. But that was very quickly, it seems to be walked back by the White House, especially because apparently there was some opposition from Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and other countries. They didn't want to see more escalation there. All these countries want to see an end of this crisis. So I think that's kind of where we are now.
Yeah, and right now, Saudi and the rest of these countries are actually seeing all this go down, obviously, where Iran's put basically the world on hostage with, the aspect of oil. And I have some very interesting for you guys. Check this out. This is a little map here showing the new pipeline that's being built. Goes through multiple countries. That center part that goes through Saudi Arabia is actually already built. That's already there. Where you guys see the split offs where it goes from, Saudi to Iraq to Qatar, the Persian Gulf, UAE, whatever, goes over there. And then it goes through Jordan, and then it's going to go through Israel. And it looks like it even goes through Gaza right there to the end, to where the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea is, where you have full access to Europe and the rest of the world right there. So if this ever were to happen again, this is how they're going to prevent this in the future. So anyways, just wanted to go ahead and show you guys that. Let's go ahead and bring this back up. Here we go. Give me a second.
And the question is whether or not in this month of May, whether this can finally be sorted out somehow.
It was interesting to see that President Trump just over the weekend making that announcement of that U.S. operation to kind of guide vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. And then just a couple of days later, it was scaled back, put on pause, so to speak. Just for reference here to our viewers at home, this image that we have on the screen, courtesy of Marine Traffic, is the Strait of Hormuz. The red dots on the screen are tanker vessels. The green ones are cargo vessels. And you can see here that there's not too much movement. A lot of them are just docked there on the side, waiting for more instructions as to how to get through safely.
They're not, well, some are docked, but most of them are sitting on anchor. They're anchored up.
Seth, how much leverage does Iran still have? Because they do continue to threaten that shipping route and also the energy market. So really, how does that play into their strategy while they're trying to come up with a concise solution with the U.S.?
I think this shows that Iran feels it has a lot of leverage. I mean, the fact that you can close one of the world's major shipping lanes for months on end and keep, as you can see in the picture there, right, hundreds of vessels with tens of thousands of crew on them or something, basically stuck there for months. And there's no...
It's 20,000 sailors there sitting out there waiting right now.
No solution to get them through. And it's important to remember here, of course, you could find a way to get them through. The U.S. Navy could escort them if it wanted to. That's a high-risk issue because you don't want to have naval...
Let me go ahead and show you the realistic landscape real quick. Let me go ahead and bring this up. This is live right this second. Just like air traffic control, there's the same thing for the water, right? So we're able to see in live time where the ships are at, where their movements are. And it looks like a lot going on because there is a lot going on. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Now, they're not just held hostage over here where they're showing the clump of tankers and cargo vessels sitting here, but the rest of the strait, or the rest of the whole canal here is, I mean, look at this. It is just fucking packed. Look how many ships this is. This is insane. Now, a normal shipping lane that would be going through here right now when things are normal would not look like this. Let me go ahead and show you guys what the strait looks like down by Yemen. This is Yemen Houthi rebel territory down here. Well, this is what the shipping lane looks like when it's open. This is what it looks like. Now, if you notice, there's not as much traffic as actually, if you guys follow any of this shit, this is still not even as much traffic as normal. Let me go ahead and show you what's actually happening around the world. These guys are moving all the way around Africa to go all the way up to fucking Europe. Now, do you know how much fuel they're burning just to go around Africa and go all the way up around? Look at this. This is insane. Absolutely fucking just insane. And the reason being is a lot of these ship owners, as well as their insurance that insures the cargo on board, they're saying, listen, if you go through this strait over here, we're not insuring your fucking cargo. So now these ship owners have no option but to have to go all the way around instead of going through right here where the Suez Canal is and by Egypt. And that's Egypt's like #1 fucking moneymaker. Yeah, I mean, this is a whole global fucking craziness. It's madness. Anyways, let's go ahead and bring back this. Sorry for interrupting. Just had to explain that a little bit.
Being attacked, you don't want to lose naval ships or crew. And also the commercial cargo ships and the shipping companies, they have insurance to deal with and all sorts of other things. They can't take a 5% chance that a ship might sink or crew might be killed. No one wants to gamble with those odds. So we have to understand that there has to be almost a 0% chance that something happens.
Get the likes
And
up,
the Iranians
everybody.
have understood that basically if they put a few naval mines out there, and they have, these relatively small fast boats, these skiffs that they can drive around in, and it's been hard for the U.S. to hunt them all down. They understand that they can create that 1 or 5% chance of something bad happening, and because of that, everyone is basically cautious and holding back, and no one wants to, try to run this blockade. So I think the Iranians definitely seem to feel empowered by this, and they feel like, okay, they've lost on other fronts. They can't fight the American Air Force. The Iranians don't have an Air Force anymore. They don't have a real Navy, but they can fight in this other economic way, and I think they feel extremely empowered by this, and that's why we'll have to see what comes out of these negotiations, whether the Iranians are able to say, okay, we're willing to climb down here on the straits or whatever, but then we want this in return. And we'll see if the Trump administration can get the deal that they'd like.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go and move into this next story here. Iran's president meets with supreme leader. This is just happening minutes before we started the live stream, actually. So let's go and bring this up, and we'll discuss it quickly.
Take a look at your screen as this is coming in from Fox's Trey Yingst. He now says that Iran's president is claiming to have met with the new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. Again, that is reporting coming in from Fox News' Trey Yingst, a friend of the show.
Now, he hasn't come out in public yet. And the reports are that he did get injured. And the rumor is he lost his leg. Now, I lost my leg in a traumatic accident as well. And that shit takes a lot longer than 60 days for you to go ahead and start walking around and being public. I can tell you, as a one-legged man that went through it, 60 days later, it's you can barely fucking walk. So just saying.
Here. And
that's why he
that
hasn't been
comes as
out in
President
the
Trump
public.
says Iran wants to make a deal. And if they don't, the bombing will resume with more intensity than before. Axios reporting that the U.S. and Iran are closer to signing a one-page memorandum of understanding than they have been in weeks. And I want to pop this up on your screen as this is the information coming in from Axios, some of it on that memorandum of understanding, what we know. And
yeah, this is great information right here.
Really,
this is coming from Axios.
Point what we don't know. It does say the end to the hostilities there, an immediate end to the war, and that'll begin 30-day talks. Now, there's also a 12 to maybe 15-year freeze.
Well, what happens when the 30-day talk runs out?
On all nuclear enrichment. The Hormuz Strait there reopening as there will be a phased lifting of the blockades. Global shipping will be restored. And there's also mention of sanctions released with phased U.S. sanctions lifted and frozen assets released. All right, so a lot to discuss as always here. I do want to bring in Sinan Sidi, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much as always for taking the time to be here with us.
Good morning, Josh. Happy to be here.
Good morning. Well, first off, I want to start by talking about some of the information here that's coming in from Axios on this memorandum of understanding. Of course, there's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of questions about what's next overall. So what kind of stands out to you about what we know and what we don't know about this one-page memorandum of understanding?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's been a lot being kicked around in the last several days, whether we're going to implement freedom of navigation with the assistance of U.S. Navy, getting ships out of the strait there to relieve Asian markets as well as our European allies with oil supplies, the future of the Strait of Hormuz in terms of basically it not being a backwater of Iran, but an international waterway. That was certainly keeping us busy. We've had trouble essentially coming to terms with who is actually in charge in Iran. We've had no necessary sort of indication of that until your colleague just seemingly reported it. And if the supreme leader,
well, that's the way they kind of built themselves. They have like basically 36 different factions that kind of work on their own without straight up, a cabinet and leadership at the very, very top. They kind of work and they still are able to work without an actual command and leadership of that level. So they kind of work on their own, which is interesting. But the being able to relay those messages is definitely interesting, whether it be from the United States point of view or Israel's or Iran's. The way the communications happen, it's very odd how it's handled now.
Is seemingly
difficult landscape,
incapacitated and in a position to act and consider negotiating with the United States, then this memorandum becomes much more sort of valid. I mean, the administration is up against a bit of a bind simply because they don't necessarily have an idea of how to essentially proceed with opening the strait without coming into direct confrontation with Iran and renewed hostilities, because this is something they would like to avoid for a variety of reasons. So this memorandum, if it is to proceed, is interesting, but from an initial look at it, it does have some potholes in this that I'd be curious to sort of avoid. One is sanctions relief. I would suggest that every sanctions relief that the Islamic Republic is granted is subsidizing terrorism downstream. So essentially, that's something I'm watching out for going forward.
And also, you kind of touched on this, but that meeting that reportedly happened, Trey Yingst again at Fox reporting this here, saying that the president of Iran met with the new supreme leader. Important to note that the supreme leader has not been seen yet. We're just getting kind of these written statements that are being read out by somebody.
That's what we were talking about earlier. He has not made a public appearance since he has been injured. That is correct. There has only been messages relayed literally by like pen and paper from him.
Does that tell us anything when we hear that the president meets with the supreme leader overall?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think, look, we still don't know until we see this plan before cameras. What you're saying is actually accurate in terms of we have no idea whether Mujtaba Khamenei is still around and essentially capacitated and in a position to make decisions or negotiate on behalf of the Islamic Republic. That's a problem. As far as essentially negotiating with the Iranians, I would suggest at this point we have to remember that the Islamic Republic are hard.
Hey, what's up, Kat? Great to see you in the chat, by the way. It's been a minute. Great to see you. Hopefully you're enjoying your Thirsty Thursday morning so far. Definitely know that we are.
Ideologues. They don't necessarily calculate and make decisions or strategize in a way that's comparable to the United States or the Western Hemisphere. Because if they did, we might have avoided a considerable amount of these hostilities for the past 40 years. I am very skeptical in terms of what we would be negotiating with or who would be negotiating with, more accurately, simply because dealing with hardened ideologues whose primary goal is to antagonize, undermine the United States and the Western Hemisphere is their line of business.
We also heard from President Trump. He said yesterday, about 24 hours ago on Truth Social, that essentially Iran wants to make this deal. However, if they don't accept a deal essentially soon, and they reject it, that the bombing will continue there in Iran. And
and we read that for you guys earlier.
Higher intensity than ever before. Anything to take away from those remarks, as we're also hearing from Trump that there is no real deadline for all of this?
Yes, I think what Trump is signaling there is the United States has infinitely greater military options. And even though the Iranians have been targeting oil ships or trying to exit the strait in the last 48 to 72 hours with U.S. assistance, they understand that those can be thwarted. And if negotiations break down, or if the Iranian regime is essentially ups the ante on the escalatory ladder, as in resume full combat operations against the U.S. military, then this is an area which they are weakest at, right? Where because the United States still possesses fifth-generation stealth fighters, along with the Israelis, these capabilities, our military capabilities, far outmatch the Iranians, and we are in a position to essentially hit any target inside of Iran, should we choose to do so. The Iranians know this. They've had enough of...
Of course they know that, and they know they can't win on a military front straight up, so they have to do roundabout ways, of course, to, make pressure on the United States, basically. All right, so listen, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank you each and every single one of you guys enough for the amount of love and support that you guys showed towards the channel. Hitting that like button, double tapping that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. Thank you guys. Make sure you guys stick around. We're going to be rating our buddy Flow State. He's on his other channel, Powder Dusty. Make sure you guys stick around for that. Let them know we're coming through with the Mike Ball raid. Always some entertaining shit going on over there. Anyways, listen, thank you all very much for hanging out with us this morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning for more of the World's Madness. Until then, God bless everyone. Much love, honor, respect, everybody.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken, he rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow, he takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels, here is back to